Making a lot of these little fellas, man. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. And haven't found anything all day, but I just came up on this big nice knife just laying here. That looks like fossiliferous chert, Harrodsburg or something. It's a little thick, but it's a whopper. Still a nice piece. At least we're not skunked today. All right, I've got something marked up here, and I hope it's a good one. I don't know if it's going to be or not. I didn't have my phone with me, so I marked it. I had to come back to get the boat. So I hope it's good. Let's go up here and see what we got. I hope this is going to be something good. Let's go see. All right, there it is. I don't know what it is. Could be a blade, could be like an Adina, could be broken. It's a moment of truth. Oh, oh, oh my goodness. I wasn't expecting it to be that daggone nice. You know, and the funny thing is, I've had a rough day hunting, haven't found anything. I was just grumbling to myself, actually grumbling out loud about how I haven't found anything. And this is a site where I've never found anything. I don't know why I ever hunt it. And literally, like a half second after I said that, I looked over and saw this. Makes you wonder sometime if somebody isn't listening. Look at that, beautiful, super thin Adina. It's not huge, 2.5 incher, but my goodness, it's well made and pretty close to G10. All right, it's the last week of May 2025, and I'm just going to do a cleanup of the few things we found. I took Jacob earlier in the week hoping he could find something because he was home, but it didn't work out. But I did that day find this really nice knife, some kind of a chert. This is the type of grainy chert you often find adzes and celts made out of because it's tougher than like the higher grade cherts like the hornstone and stuff. This is big. It's probably a little over 4 inches. I haven't measured it, but this would have been a heck of a knife if they could have taken that stack off there. And you see, look at all these stacks stacked up on this side. So I don't know if the person was learning to nap and didn't know how to remove the stacks, if they made this the way they wanted it and wanted the stacks on there, or if the material was just so rough to nap without being heat treated that they couldn't knock the stacks off. But I still love it because this thing is robust. It feels good in your hand. Like I feel like if somebody attacked me, I could probably defend myself fairly well with this thing. It's still sharp despite being thick, and it's a big blade. So that's a really neat piece. Didn't expect to find. And today I went out and found this. It's got to be some kind of a little Adina variant, some kind of early woodland stem piece. It's got a little bit of the cortex there on the tip, little bit of tip damage. Looks like it might have, I think it's been in a fire actually, and been fire popped there on the tip. And then the piece of the week is this nice Adina. This thing is really well made. You can see there's part of the bullseye in it. Just a beautiful point. And this is a site where I never found more than like 3 flakes. Today I found 3 flakes. That's why I always just hunt sites to death, because every little site out there, no matter how piddly of a little site, there's something killer on it, and one day it's going to come out. So if you got time to hunt them, I try to hunt everything. Now I understand if you only get to go out and hunt arrowheads once a month, you got to go to the very best sites and try your best. But this is a place where I never found anything. Nobody else hunts this site because, 9 times out of 10, there's about 3 flakes and 1 fire-cracked rock or 2, and that's it. And that's all there was today, except, as you saw in the video, I saw a little sliver of this sticking out, and I thought it might be a blade. It kind of looked about like that sticking out of the dirt, and I was very pleased to pull out this Adina. This is an Adina. I looked at it really carefully. I know it looks like a lot like some turkey tails, and this stuff gets complicated. With turkey tails, you've got Harrisons, Fultons, Fulton Dixon, Fulton Kimmel, Knox, Ross, Spoon. There's all types of turkey tails, which tend to be terminal late archaic. I think they're like 1500 to 500 BC or something like that. And the Adinas are early woodland. They come just a little bit later. I think they date something like 800 BC to 300 BC. So there is definitely some overlap in them, and there's a lot of overlapping characteristics. Adinas are the same way like turkey tails. It gets really confusing classifying them because you've got like Garys and Dixons and just plain Adinas and Adina Wabisa and Little Bear Creeks and Cypress Stemmed and several other names of variants. So it gets really confusing for people sometimes distinguishing whether it's a turkey tail or an Adina, which type of turkey tail or Adina it is. And sometimes I think we worry too much about that. A lot of times you'll hear me mention clusters. I'll just say late archaic stem cluster or early woodland stem cluster because, or Brewer Timotansis cluster, instead of trying to break it down into an exact point type. Because for one thing, these point types are artificially made by modern archaeologists, and they may have overlapped more than we realize. The Native Americans may not have really seen a difference in them. And sometimes, I mean, for certain things, yeah, it's kind of neat to divide them out, but other times, if it's not real obvious, I'll just throw it in a category. There's no need splitting hairs. But anyway, this was a very, very nice Adina. You can see that part of the bullseye, like I said earlier. And a lot of guys would be like, oh, it's a shame the bullseye is not in the center, but I don't care. You know, whoever made this, he or she made it to suit their needs and the way they wanted it, and that's fine with me, and I'm just very lucky to get to own it now. You know, but the main thing is it served its purpose for them, 800 BC or whatever it was. But you can see this is pretty daggone thin and just a well-made point from, like I said, a site that I've never found anything but a couple flakes on before. So sometimes I've probably hunted this site. I've been hunting this site about 4 years, and I've probably been there a dozen times. And that's the first time I've never even found a broken point on it. So I was just amazed to pull that Adina out, and it saved the day because there wasn't much going on. So this is what I found last week of May 2025. I hope you all are finding stuff. It is. Just wish I had more arrowheads. I don't think this is anything but a flake, but since I'm on a roll, I figured I better film it just in case. It's just a flake. The hunting has been terrible, but I just pulled off this little spot that I've never even looked, and let's hope. Buck creeks are usually always broken, but let's hope. Oh my God. That's a G10. Holy hell. Oops, excuse my language. Holy mackerel. That is nice. Hey, I just washed her off. She ain't a big one, but she is pristine. You don't get buck creeks that nice very often. Holy cow. Never even looked here before. Mercy. I'm doing today's cleanup video, and it's real easy because I only found one point. This is a terminal archaic barbed cluster point, more specifically a Buck Creek barbed point. There are several points in that cluster. It starts in the late archaic and goes into the early woodland. I think the dates for these are something like 1500 to 600 BC to give you an idea of how old they are. Buck Creek points are almost always broken because these barbs are so fragile, and these thin little bases and these tips. Usually you find them, usually the typical way to find them is with one barb gone. You find Buck Creek and it's knocked off here or here. Sometimes if you're lucky enough to get one with two barbs, the tip's gone or there's a little bit of damage on the base. So this is one of those rare Buck Creeks that the whole thing's there. I only hunted for about a half hour today. Wasn't expecting much, and I just got lucky. But this is a dandy. It's really lucky, and I brought this point out too. This is what I found in my last hunt. My last two hunts, I went to a couple good sites, and these are just my last two successful hunts. Actually, I didn't film in between these. I have a couple hunts where I went on with one of my buddies where we got completely skunked, and we hunted all day long. We waded through creeks and walked through briars and everything else on places that should have been good, and we found nothing. So my last two successful hunts, though, I found really, really, for field grade points, these are really high quality pieces. And I found them both in really obscure, tiny little sites. So you just never know when you're going to find one of these. So keep your eye to the ground, and I hope you enjoyed coming along with me as I found them. And I hope you're having luck with your hunts. I'll see you next time when I find something else.